Hi, welcome to Hospitality Live with Rupesh. Each week, we feature an industry leader that will share the latest trends and the best strategies to help you grow. Now, welcome your host, Rupesh Patel.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Super excited about this conversation today. And let me see if I can turn this music off. And it's off. Guys, good morning. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Hospitality Live with me. Yes, Rupesh. Every week we do this where we bring on amazing people, share mindsets. And today we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Clubhouse. And I'm super excited. We're talking about how to grow our career with hustle and entrepreneurship. And it's featuring Hala Taha. She's a CEO, and I'm going to bring her on here shortly and kind of discover how she made or is generating $1 million off of her show, and really just understand the entrepreneur mindset, because that's what we need when we keep going, especially for us hospitality people, where a lot has changed in the last year. And I think we keep going with different ideas outside of our industry. And that's how I've been going. That's what's kept me going. And this entire month, we've talked about how to make extra money, how to make that side hustle money that you keep going. And I've probably shared dozens of ways that I make money through my hotels, through my side hustles, through all the stuff that just keeps me going. And a lot of it's just fun, right? So if you can make money and have fun, boom, it's a plus. So find out all the things that she does, as Hala does, to hustle. Plus, I want to know how she scored an interview with Matthew McConaughey. So coming up next, we have our featured guest, Hala Taha. She is the CEO, like we said. And by the way, guys, let me know where you're watching from, because I'm giving away a $50 gift card to Amazon. So guys, comment, let me know where you're watching from. I'd be super excited to understand and see where you guys are watching from. And I don't know if we're live, if this is live, because I usually have a few people helping me out and understanding if this is live, but I think we are live. We're good to go. All right, so let me see if I can post this up real quick. All right, so yes, we're seeing people popping in. New York's in the house, Nashville's in the house. We have people from Florida, Maryland, Texas, Dallas, Detroit, Colorado's in the house. I love it, guys. Big shout out to Texas, man. You guys have been through a lot this past year or this past week, and I understand. I have family there, and I've reached out to them, make sure they're okay. And they did lose power, and I'm glad that everyone's kind of getting back on their feet. There's a lot of people that are still struggling. There's some hotels. There was actually a hotel that burned down because their entire system was frozen. Their water system, their fire system was frozen, and that hotel burned down. So I'm gonna see if we can try to reach out to them, see if we can help, how we all can help them. Guys, there's people from Iowa, India, Indianapolis in the house, Texas again. Yes, Art, thank you so much. Miami's in the house. Super excited about this conversation, guys. All right, so every week we have a sponsor, and this week's sponsor, and they've been sponsoring for a while. They're gonna sponsor for quite some time. I'm super excited. My hotels use this platform. It is Impulsify. Somebody put in the comments right now, impulsifyinc.com. Learn how to generate more revenue through your retail. So if your hotel has retail space, has a grab and go, has some kind of market where you're selling stuff, you're probably missing some opportunities right now. Honestly, you're missing some opportunities, because before we would just sell anything. Like, you would go to Sam's and buy stuff that you could put in your hotel gift shop. And you're like, this might sell because I like it. But guess what? It sat on your shelf for like months and then expired, and then you have to throw it away, right? And so no more of that. You'll learn with technology on what to sell, what's the best seller. And if you go to, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. If you can go to this link right here, rupesh.co/Impulsify, you'll get the 2021 bestseller guide to everything you have to sell in your store. So I'm super excited about it. Thank you so much to Impulsify. And like I said, somebody put that in the comments real quick. There it is. Come on, got it. I appreciate it. Listen, they're amazing. Thank you so much for sponsoring this show. We're going to talk more about them. And by the way, they're buddies of mine, and I love what they do. And I love that it's a woman-led business where she's all over the place. She's in Hilton's, IHG. She's in a bunch of different brands. If your hotel uses Impulsify's smart technology to sell, and the kiosk and all these things that they offer, put that in the comments. Let me know if your hotel is actually using it. I think it's super powerful that we all continue growing each other and sharing these ideas. And thank you so much to Impulsify for sponsoring this show. All right, so every week I talk about a mindset. And this week's mindset, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. It is everyone starts somewhere. So if you're not at the place that I'm at right now, or if I'm not at the place that you're at, it's okay, right? And I put this poll up last week. It said, what age did you start working in hospitality? And I think we had over 139,000 people with 400 comments. Just comment and let me know, guys, when you started. I would love to learn when you started in the industry, because I think it's super powerful that some people started when they were like 11 years old. Some people started when they were in their 40s, which is okay. Like, we all start somewhere, and that's my mindset this week. It's like, you see somebody like with this and that, this title, it doesn't matter because we all started somewhere. And I think that's powerful when we can try to grow ourselves and continue growing. So I would love to learn when you started in the business. Hit the comments. And by the way, the most engaging person on this episode is going to be winning this $50 gift card before the end of the show. So Daryl says 12, Christopher says 48. Hey, perfectly fine. It's all good, right? All right, so every week we bring on Sarah Dandashy. She talks about the Hospitality Minute and what's going on in travel in hospitality. She's actually in Mexico right now, but she still continues doing the show. So hang on, let's bring her on and let's see if she can share what's happening in travel.
Hi, I'm Sarah Dandashy from Ask a Concierge. Every week, I'll be sharing the latest hospitality and travel news and updates in a segment we like to call Hospitality Minutes.
All right, so Sarah's not here, but she did record this, so I'm gonna go ahead and share this right now. Here we go.
Hi everyone, it's Sarah from Ask a Concierge coming to you with a pre-recorded video for this week's Hospitality Minute. Now, for those of you that do happen to follow me on social media, you might know that I happen to be in Mexico in the Cancun Riviera Maya area. I am working with a very amazing brand, Charisma Hotels and Resorts, and I have been property hopping. I started originally at the Margarita Island Reserve. I happen to be currently at the El Dorado Royale, the Casitas section. Amazing. And I didn't want to miss this week's Hospitality Minute. So I wanted to be sure to hop on and share with you what is going on in the world of hospitality. So that being said, let's dive in as you have a full show ahead of me. So first up, this was some big news this week. So the CDC actually has come out recommending that hotel workers receive early COVID-19 vaccine shots. Why is this a big deal? Well, for those of you that know, or those of you that have been working at this time, a lot of hotel workers have been questioning, hey, when can we actually get our vaccines? We are working with the traveling public. And there has been a lot of back and forth about this. Where do hotel or hospitality workers fall in this realm? And this is a really, really big win, I would say, for the industry, that the CDC has gone ahead and recommended that hotel workers basically are kind of in the tier right below essential workers, or like hospital workers, which is great. Now, that being said, it will be up to each individual state in order to roll that out and determine who gets what when. But again, this is a very, very huge win for the industry as a whole. All right, our next topic. For those of you that have been following the news, Texas hotels were found that they were filling up during the winter storms. Now, for those of you that have been hearing about Texas and what's been going on with their weather over the past couple of weeks, or certainly for those of you that have been or live in Texas, you know firsthand, winter storms hit Texas hard, and that is certainly not usual for the area, certainly not to this extent. And a lot of people in Texas were actually left without power. And as a result, what did they do? They went to hotels. So this was really interesting, especially in some of the larger cities like Dallas, for example. You have hotels that maybe weren't at that high of occupancy, now all of a sudden going 0 to 60 in essence, or 0 to 100, and having really, really high occupancy rates, and managing that from an operations standpoint. So again, this is something to consider. We're learning these little lessons along the way, especially as we get out and we kind of see the recovery of travel, understanding the operation side of things. Because again, we're operating on a very skeleton crew, but then what's going to happen when we need to be operating on a much higher level and standard? So very interesting times. And then our final topic for today, thought this was really interesting. So what trend are we seeing that's going to define the future of business travel? We've all kind of talked about this quite a bit. This isn't news, that we do know that leisure travel will be leading recovery, and business travel will be sort of, will take some time to find its legs, to put it politely. Now, what they're actually seeing is that leisure travel might actually lead the way for business travel. Now, what do I mean by this? So with a lot more people working remotely and having that sort of flexibility, people are itching to travel, and so they are taking more trips. So as people travel more, certainly for leisure reasons, and then maybe dialing in remotely, that's going to start building that sort of business consumer consumer confidence in essence, or the business confidence, and it should hopefully help lend itself to a rise in business travel, certainly down the line, just that we can see that people are getting back to travel safely, which is ultimately, I think, the biggest concern for everybody that's certainly tuning in today. So with that being said, that is it for today's Hospitality Minute. Thank you for accepting my casual attire. I mean, this is my work attire because I am working. So that being said, I will leave you with one last thing, my view, because why would we not have a view? So let me go ahead and just do me here. All right, guys. So I was coming to you live from my balcony, and this is the view from my balcony. I was going to do a cabana for you guys, but it was a little complicated. So that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's Hospitality Minute. If you want to follow live on what I'm doing here in Mexico, find me on social media. My handle is Ask a Concierge, or always just find me at my website, askaconcierge.tv. Until next week, when I come to you from my regular home studio, I'll see you guys then. Thanks so much. Bye.
That was awesome. Sarah's awesome. Guys, if you want to follow her, she has over 125,000 followers verified on Instagram. Definitely follow her. We're going to be doing actually a clubhouse tomorrow on how to get paid as a travel influencer like she does. So please hit me up if you want the link to that. All right, so now our featured guest, and I'm sorry that you hear the guy cutting the grass. I don't know if you hear him. Does anybody hear the guy cutting the grass behind the scenes? But it's totally fine. We keep it going. This is what we do in hospitality. We just keep it going, right? All right, so super excited. This is episode 78, how to grow your career with hustle and entrepreneurship. And our featured guest is the CEO. I'm going to bring her up right now. It's Hala Taha. Hey, Hala, welcome.
Hey, so happy to be here. You've got such a great show and amazing energy, so super excited.
Thank you so much. You know, we've been connected for quite some time on LinkedIn, and I love what you're doing, and I love your hustle, which is like the best part about anybody, is especially people that are hurting in the hotel business right now, hospitality. You might know some people that work in hotels, and almost a year ago, they were getting the bad news that, hey, I might be losing my job, or I might be furloughed. Do you have any people that you knew?
Yeah, I mean, I was working at Disney streaming services when COVID hit, and luckily we were in the streaming business, and so things were better than ever because everyone's on their couch, watching movies. But yeah, I definitely had friends who were in the travel industry, who worked for airlines and things like that, who got furloughed.
Awesome. Well, we all just keep it going, and we're resilient. I mean, that's what I believe. I feel like hospitality people, our hotels are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're never closed, right? And so we keep it going. Like, there's times that I've worked the night shift back in the day. I've worked like 16, 24 hours straight on three shifts, and we just keep it going. That's what I love about hospitality. That's what I love about our people. And I'm going to introduce you to our people here on the show. And Hala, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you currently do.
Sure. So I'm the host of Young and Profiting. We are a #1 self-improvement podcast across all apps. I'm also the CEO of Yap Media, which is a full-service social media and podcast marketing and production agency. And we cater to best-selling authors, celebrities, and CEOs. So that's pretty much what I'm up to. Those are my main focuses. I'm a new entrepreneur as of 2 weeks ago. So super excited to be a full-time entrepreneur.
Awesome. So we're talking about how to grow our career. And I want to know, because you're coming up to $1 million on your business just helping other people. And, that's what entrepreneurship is about. It's not like, how am I going to make money for myself? It's finding that value and finding what people are needing help with. So how did you actually do it? How did you come up with the idea of becoming an entrepreneur? Because there's so many people in the hotel business that are like, I want to do something else, or I want to do something on the side.
Yeah.
And this entire month has been like side hustle stuff that we all do, right?
Yeah. So it all happened kind of by accident and very, very organically. So I started Young and Profiting podcast about 2.5 years ago. And I just had a podcast, and I had a lot of fans who were super into the show that reached out to me that said, hey, like, I'd love to just help out. I want to get involved. And so I started a Slack channel with all these volunteers. And then I started having people work for me, and they were working for free. And everybody kind of took charge of a certain area of the podcast. So we had like a guest outreach manager, and we had a video editor, and we had a social media person. And of course, I did everything. And I was doing 80% of the work, but it was still helpful to have a team running 20% of Young and Profiting podcast, right?
Hold on. You had people work for you for free?
Yes, I had people who volunteered to work for the podcast, like 10 people. I would get these messages all the time of fans who were just so into the show, and they just wanted to get involved. How can I help? And so, we had a volunteer build our first website, for example. We had a volunteer launch our YouTube channel and things like that. And so I was, managing it all, and we became a team, and it was really cool. So Young and Profiting kept growing and growing, especially because I had this amazing, super passionate team. And I would have guests on my show, and we would, do an amazing job in terms of booking them. Then they would come on the show. I was super prepared, well-researched. Then we would promote the heck out of it, and they were super impressed with that. And the same question kept coming up over and over again. They would say, Hala, who does your marketing? Hala, who's doing your podcast production? Hala, who does your audio editing? And everybody wanted what I had, a very successful, really smooth running podcast. And so the guests that would come on my show would always ask me these same questions. And so I put 2 and 2 together and said, all right, well, I thought I was going to make money off my podcast, but that's actually really difficult to do. It's very difficult to monetize a podcast. It's not a great business model. So why don't I monetize everything I do for my podcast instead? And so we started to get our first clients. My volunteers began getting paid and became team leaders. And then we would get interns and hire part-time workers and people from overseas and things like that to like build out our team. And now I have over almost 40 employees that I pay every single week working for us. And we've landed huge clients, and we basically just scaled every aspect of Young and Profiting and now offer it as a service. So it happens super organically, even from forming the team happened organically. So I think that's why it's so successful. It's because it was such an organic, pure demand, and everybody on the team is very happy and motivated.
Right. And so you did this while you were doing something else. So it was more like you were all in on something, like this goal that you had. You took it like baby steps, and you saw it grow, like you said, organically.
Yeah.
So how can you share that mindset with people that are listening? Like, do I need to quit my job tomorrow, or do I need to go find something first? Like,
yeah, I think first getting your priorities straight. And I think that's a great question. So a lot of people think it's either, you quit your job, you become an entrepreneur, or, you have a side hustle, and people think that the side hustle has to become their main hustle. And that's not necessarily true. There's lots of people out there that can have a side hustle and they just enjoy doing it. They make a little bit of money. It's never going to, compete with their full-time job in terms of the money that they're going to make. And it's totally fine to have a full-time job and a side hustle. Your side hustle doesn't have to be your main hustle. But there's a point where you need to make a decision. And for me, I was getting much more opportunity outside of Disney streaming services. I had a great career, and it took a long time for me to reach that point where I could give up, almost over 6 figures, but like a really good salary, right? And a really great position that a lot of people would kill for, right? To then quit that to take my, Yap Media full time. It was really a slow process for me because I had such a great career. Now, if I was in a lower level position, that transition would have been a lot quicker, but it's like I had more to lose, right? So it just really depends on your situation. But like I said, not every side hustle has to turn into a full-time gig. It's really up to you and your goals. It's totally okay to have a hobby or just make a little extra cash outside your job. And it's really normal now. 39% of millennials have a side hustle, and this is completely normal. It used to be looked down upon, but now it's just commonplace. Everybody has a side hustle. It's actually less secure to only have a full-time job right now.
Absolutely. And I think I have. I shared a dozen things 2 weeks ago about on my show of like things I make money on every day or once a week or once a month. And some of these side hustles have made me more money than maybe my hotel this past year.
Wow.
Which is interesting, right? So I think everyone has a side hustle that keeps you going. And here's the thing. Is it okay that your side hustle sometimes makes you more money than your regular thing because you love it so much? Is that okay?
Of course it's okay. The more money, the merrier, right? If you're succeeding, then that's totally okay if your side hustle makes more money than your day job. But what you have to realize is that if you're losing opportunities by not having full focus and full time on your side hustle, if your side hustle is making more than your regular day job, I think you do have decisions to make because it makes more sense to spend your time where you're most valuable, right? And so I would say that's the turning point where you need to evaluate whether it's time to kind of take that leap.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think short term, because of COVID, our hotels are slower. Some hotels are whatever the case is, right? So I can understand that where you have a long-term game plan as far as not just like looking at today and like how am I going to make $5 today or $100 or $1,000 today or whatever the number is. But I think you look at it as a game plan, and I love that you do that. So all right, so you have a full service business that kind of caters to a lot of different types of celebrities, entrepreneurs that help them grow. I see that you're on. Let me share this real quick. So, sorry. Oh, I can't your face. Sorry. You're on. Hang on.
No, that's okay. Thank you so much for sharing this. That's me on the cover of Podcast Magazine.
Podcast Magazine. Like, how did you get there?
Well, it was a lot of hard work. So before I had Young and Profiting Podcast, I've been in this industry for a long time. So I started my career in radio at Hot 97. It's the #1 hip hop and R&B station in America. Yeah. I had a very popular website when I was younger. I had 50 bloggers under me, almost had a show on MTV. And then I've been hustling with Young and Profiting Podcast for almost 3 years. So to me, it was very deserving, and a lot of hard work came behind, landing that feature. And it was because of my results. I have the downloads, I have the guests, I have the quality content, I've got the brand in terms of my LinkedIn presence and personal brand. So it was all like, I wasn't surprised. It was kind of like, I worked for this, and that's how I get all my achievements. It's through hard work. No handouts here, and no getting lucky either.
Yeah, and I see that you have a lot of confidence in yourself, and I feel like a lot of people, it doesn't matter if you're a male or female, they don't have the confidence in themselves to like, listen, I could do this. Like, who cares what anybody else thinks? Where'd you get that confidence from?
Yeah, I think it's because, I grew up Middle Eastern, and I always didn't really fit in my community. I was always very outspoken. I always, was like leading my plays and did like solos at chorus concerts and kind of was always at the forefront. And in my culture, women are typically not at the forefront. And I always had that in me. And so I had a lot of not backlash from my community, but I was never accepted in my community pretty much from when I was a kid. I was always looked different, acted different. And, for that reason, I never cared what anybody thought because I've been judged since I was a young girl. And so I just kept going and just did whatever I wanted. I never let the opinions of others stop me. For example, when I first started my brand on LinkedIn and I started my podcast, a lot of my friends told me, like, what are you doing? You have such a great career. Why are you doing this? You look silly. Your podcast is like, do you really think that things are going to be successful? Like, why would you go backwards? Like, that's the kind of attitude that I was getting when I started Young and Profiting Podcast. But thank God I didn't listen to that, because look where I am now. Now I can finally, be an entrepreneur. I can finally follow my dreams. I had this Young and Profiting Podcast is like my 4th or 5th show. And this was the breakout show. So if I had given up, then I would have never had the success. And so a lot of it is just, seeing the light ahead of you and not getting discouraged, because a lot of people who love you give you terrible advice. And people might have your best interests at heart, but they haven't been where you want to go. And so I only listen to the people who have been where I want to go. And all those people said, Hala, quit your job. Hala, jump ship. Hala, you're going to make it. And so I just listen to the people who have been where I want to go. Yeah.
And I think that's a habit that I think we all need to like instill in ourselves, is that we try to reach out to our friends that have never done what you're trying to do, and you try to get their advice from them. And then all of a sudden it's bad advice because you don't see yourself growing. And so I've actually learned in the last like 5, 6, 7 years, like if you want to talk to people about investing into a hotel or improving your life or doing something outside of, or doing something that you want to do, don't reach out to people that have never done it, because you're never going to win, right?
Yeah. Even if they're so smart, even if they love you so much, if they don't have the direct experience, they don't know what it takes to get there. And also, either way, you can only listen to yourself because only you know the limits inside of you. You know, there's been plenty of times where everyone told me no and I just trusted my gut. And it's like only you know what you're capable of, you know, and what drive you really have inside of you. And so if you believe that life is limitless and you know exactly what you want and you write it down, you'll achieve those things. You just need to truly believe that life is limitless.
Yeah, and I love that we're talking about hustle and entrepreneurship, because they go together. And I see that you're on, like, because you're focused on social media, you're on like I could text you at 1 o'clock in the morning through like LinkedIn, and you'll message you back, or Instagram, like you'll message back. I know you might have a team, but I see that you're engaged too. So that's part of the drive. Like, where do you get that drive to like keep going even if you failed?
I think that's from my father. So I grew up, I'm Palestinian. And so my dad lived in Palestine when he was younger. He was born there. He was very poor. He lived in a room with 6 people. He had no electricity, no water. The only light that he had to study was on his walk to school. And he ended up, you know, doing really well and going to get a scholarship to med school in Egypt. And then he came to America and he became a surgeon. And then he had a medical center, and he basically lifted my whole entire family out of poverty. And he himself was, you know, in extreme poverty. And then he put all his kids through college, all my cousins in Palestine through college. He was super generous. He actually just passed away this past May, but he was just such a good man and only used his success to like bring other people up. He wasn't flashy. All his money kind of went to charity and went to, you know, paying for people's schooling. And for me, it's like, I have no excuse. I have no excuse. My dad gave me everything. You know, he didn't spoil me terribly, but he gave me every single reason to succeed. And I just feel like in his honor, there's no way that I can't become like even level up more than he did. It's like, I've got to level up too, because he did it with nothing. And then he gave me this kind of, you know, platform, and he always believed in me. And so I get that drive from him. It's just that hustle that I need to just keep leveling up my family.
Yeah, and I think that's why we kind of connect. You know, in October when my dad passed away, and we both share this same thing, this similar story of COVID affecting our families and really our father's passing. And you know, you sent me a message when I feel like I was the only person in the world like dealing with this with my family in the hospital, and you sent me a message just out of the blue when my dad was in the hospital and I was in the hospital with him. You know, he was on a ventilator like your dad was on there for like 4 or 5 weeks. My dad was the same thing, and it was tough. And I really appreciate it. You sent me that message, like, you know, here's some advice, like don't rush out of the ICU. And I really appreciate it. And that kind of that created that bond between you and I understood that, you know, I'm not the only person going through this in the world. And I really appreciate that, because it's been tough, right?
Yeah. Every time I saw anybody that I was connected with that their family was in the hospital with COVID, I always reached out, because my family was one of the first families, honestly, like impacted in America, period, right? We were in New Jersey, which is where kind of everything first broke out. We were one of the first families impacted. And so I felt like I had a lot of experience that not a lot of people had in terms of how to deal with the hospital and how to advocate for their loved ones and all the like bullshit kind of that was going on. And if you weren't wise to it, you could make a really big mistake without even knowing it. So I love to support my community, and you know, my heart goes out to you. I think your father passed as well, right? So
Yeah.
such a shitty year, such a shitty time. But you know, what can we do? That's life.
Yeah, and I think our fathers have driven us to keep this drive going in ourselves. And I see my dad working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at his property, his motel that we purchased back in the 80s, and he just worked. Like, he didn't care about anything else. Same thing, not flashy, made money, but he just worked, and that's what he loved. And I think that's where we get our drive from, and that's what we're trying to share with the world is like, hey, listen, if they could do it with nothing and coming up, like, why can't we do it? We're lucky. We have a house. We have these things that are much more than what they have, and I think that's part of entrepreneurship and that hustle that we need to instill in ourselves, and maybe the rest of the world can learn too with us, right?
Totally agree.
So, all right. So we only have a few more minutes now, and I really appreciate this conversation because I think a lot of us, as we're trying to figure out our life and trying to figure out, like, what do I do next, or do I keep going where I am? Like, how do you keep hustling? And it's just not being afraid of like reaching out. So, what are some habits that you keep yourself going every single day that you could share with hospitality people?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing that translates across all industries is really focusing on your network, right? And a lot of people talk about this, but not a lot of people give you concrete strategies to do this. So, one of my rules is collaboration over competition. And I've gotten miles ahead using this strategy. So it's like I always team up with other podcasters. I have a podcast mastermind. We support each other's content. We do monthly calls. We share information because in this age, information is power, right? If you have the knowledge, you can get leaps and bounds ahead. And so teaming up with other people and, attending even just live events like this with Rupesh about your industry and meeting other people, like, DM with each other, comment, like get to know each other, like everybody who's watching this live, because you guys can end up being each other's like support network and helping each other go further. So one of my rules is to not hoard your network. So a lot of people have contacts and they think that the way to keep their contacts secure and to, get the most value out of them is to keep them for themselves. But if you got, a CEO's number 3 years ago and you never reached back out to them, that's not your contact anymore. That contact is dead. That person doesn't remember you and you've left no impression with them. You haven't kept up with them. So rule number 1 is keep up with your contacts, keep them warm, right? Create a list of 20, 30 people that you want to keep in touch with and mark it in your calendar on the days that you're going to reach out to them. Send them a relevant article, introduce them to your other contacts, expand your network, don't hoard them. So if you know somebody's looking for a graphic designer, go introduce them to your graphic designer connect and make those connections, because even just those introductions keep your connections warm. And I do this kind of stuff all the time to make sure that people that I interview on my show, I can always reach back out to them, because I didn't just interview them once and done. I reached back out and I got them on another show, or I brought them this opportunity, or I featured them in a blog, like whatever it is. You've got to keep those connections warm. So those are a couple tips in terms of how to maintain that drive and some tips in terms of succeeding in entrepreneurship or your side hustle. It's all about your network at the end of the day and the information that you have. And that's a really good hack.
Absolutely. I think the network is like the biggest thing. Like you can't just do this by yourself. Like you need that team that you started with early on years ago that you are now paying them because they were super fans. They loved what you did. They were happy to help you. And now you're like paying it forward and or reaching back and saying, listen, you guys took care of me. I'm going to take care of you. And so my last question is, how did you get this guy on your show a few weeks ago, which is amazing. And I've watched the interview. Like, did you just reach out, or did you have somebody in your network that connected you?
I reached out, and like I said, everything that has happened to me is a result of consistency, hard work, persistence, and results. Like I have the results, I have the stats. And so I saw Matthew McConaughey was on a lot of different podcasts lately, and some of them were less popular than mine. And I had reached out to his team 2-3 months ago, and I didn't get a response. So one of the lessons in this is don't just take your first no. Just because they said no one time doesn't mean they'll say no the next time. So we reached out. They said yes, but then they ghosted us and they never scheduled a time. And we followed up multiple times. They never scheduled a time. So I replied back to that thread once I saw him on this. I saw him he went on something for like 10 minutes. Somebody who was on LinkedIn. I'm not going to name who it was. And I was like, man, that person doesn't even really have a podcast. It's just a live show. And my podcast is #1 right now. I'm on the cover of Podcast Magazine. Like, why isn't Matthew on my show? This makes no sense. And I'm a bigger influencer than this person. And so I emailed him and I said, hey, I emailed his team and I said, hey, my name's Hala. Like, great to connect again. I noticed that Matthew is going on shows a lot less popular than mine. So I'm going to shoot my shot. It was a very, very casual email. Then I sent a screenshot of my stats that I was #1 in education. And I also attached my cover feature of Podcast Magazine. And I said, I get over 150,000 downloads a month. And I gave them some of my other stats who I've interviewed. And I was like, I'd love to have Matthew on my show. And they said, yeah. And so it was just me being super casual and being honest with them, like, hey, I think there's value here. I think that, you're attending podcasts that have much less listenership than mine. So I'm a good candidate. Here's the proof. And it worked.
Right. And this is part of what you do. You hustled to get it, which I love. And we're talking about building your business, through entrepreneurship and hustle. And everything you've talked about so far in the last, 15, 20 minutes has been always hustling to get to the next step. Hala, I appreciate this. Where can people find you and how can people connect with you?
Yeah, of course. So you can, first of all, definitely check out Young and Profiting if you haven't yet. It's for all ages. So my podcast is good for all ages. I interview the brightest minds in the world, people like Seth Godin, Robert Greene, Mark Manson, Matthew McConaughey, like we just talked about. And I unpack their wisdom and provide actionable, relatable advice for my listeners. The number one thing that my fans say is that I ask the best questions. They learn something new every single time, and they feel motivated after listening to my show. And like I said, everyone says it's for all ages. So I would love for you guys to check it out. It's also for all industries. So it just helps you level up your life. And we go deep on a topic every single week. It's a great show. So I'd love for you guys to check out Young and Profiting. You can find me on social media. My handle on LinkedIn is Hala Taha. I'm also Hala Taha on Clubhouse, and then at Yap with Hala on Instagram. So love to connect with you all.
Absolutely. Hala, it's a pleasure speaking with you. You're all over the place. I see you in Clubhouse. I see you everywhere. So guys, please follow her. And I wish you the best. And keep hustling. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, Rupesh. Great show. And thanks for having me.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Guys, what did you think about her? Super amazing. She's a great CEO. I see her hustling. I see her just like pushing out content, which is what we do in the space what we're talking about right now. And in hospitality, it's easy to get jaded by see what you see on the internet, what you see in your connections. Guys, keep it going with hustle. Keep it going with just pushing yourself over that fear level, that fear factor. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can reach out to them. There's people that I'm like, I don't know if I can reach out to them and really connect with them properly and connect with them and make a difference and really keep yourself going. And that's what I love. Guys, did you love this episode? Please hit the like button and please follow Hala. She's amazing, very inspirational. All right, so now I'm going to pick the winner. And by the way, before we pick the winner, somebody hit the like button and let us know that you did like this. And guess what? I have an announcement for next week's show. And by the way, this episode is brought to you by Impulsify. Get the free 2021 bestsellers guide. If you have a hotel and you're selling retail inside your hotel, get this free guide right now so you can sell and be more profitable. And you'll learn how to what the retail price is and what you should be selling it at. Because sometimes people are selling products lower than what they actually should be. And so definitely download the free guide right here at rupesh.co/Impulsify. Thank you so much to all of you joining this week's episode. Let me see, this week's episode winner. I'm gonna pull it up now. It is, let me see. All right, so this week's episode winner is, let's see. Yeah, but there's so many people commenting. It's gonna be tough. And I'm gonna pick Heidi Johnston. Congratulations, Heidi, for winning the $50 Amazon gift card. Thank you so much for your for joining us here on the conversation. After this show, guess what? We're going live for a few minutes on Clubhouse. So if you want to join the conversation, the link is in my profile as far as a post that I just did this morning. And I would love to join you or have you join us for this conversation afterwards. Guys, next week, we're talking about how to make more money through your star report. So if you have a star report that you look at every Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, we're going to discover how to get some opportunities and discover some opportunities from someone at Star. So super excited about that. Join us next Wednesday live right here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Clubhouse. We talk about how to generate more business through your star report. There's so many different ways that you might be missing out just by that one report, that you can open up opportunities for yourself and your hotel. Super excited, guys. Somebody's congratulate Heidi for winning. And I will see you guys next week, next Wednesday, live right here at Hospitality Live with Rupesh. Guys, thank you so much. If you want to watch past episodes, it is rupesh.co/show. I'll see you next week. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And I'll see you next week. Bye. Here it is. Here it is. Oh, there it is.